we are calling our Affordable Housing Advisory Committee meeting to order. And we'll open it up for public comment first in order to comply with Florida statutes, although I don't see anyone here from the public. Other than Vance,
Denise?
who's filming
Okay.
us. And Denise, but she's kind of part of the family. Thank you.
I'll just say I'm filming this just because I've never been to one of the meetings to film it, so as many of you know, I write a blog and so I post it on YouTube. But I've been warned it already might be a boring meeting, so nothing exciting, no fist fights or controversial areas.
I thought it would make him go away.
Yeah,
That was the last.
she was hoping.
You missed it. That was the last.
I know, it's too bad. I gotta keep track of these better. I just want to comment because we were chatting briefly about one of the channels for affordable housing is mobile home parks. And I've spent some time investigating a mobile home park owner that has 3 parks now in this county. And he forces people, he stresses them out, and so they give up and they turn title over to him. Then he turns around, and these are homes that are 30 years old that are worth maybe $4,000 to $6,000. And so then they lose all their equity in the home. And this includes snowbirds. So I've got snowbirds on video with this. But the issue is that this is, and right now I can't find anybody to do anything about this issue where he treats these people with such contempt. He threatens them because he's an attorney, that he'll sue them. They stress out and then they give up the home to him. He takes the title and he resells it or rents it to other people. But that is one of the avenues for affordable housing. And the word is spreading, I think, about Lake County, and he also has a place up in Ocala. And he's not the only one. There are others in the state, but he's local that are doing this to seniors and veterans. And so I don't know how this group could address that, but I just would familiarize you with that.
How's he stressing them?
He's threatening him with lawsuits. He intimidates them. They send him the rent. He won't accept the rent at the door. I've got a whole list, and I know you know him, so I will give him. I'll send it to him. It's written up in the articles I've posted. But he calls them up. He threatens them. When they have complaints about the septic tanks, he doesn't fix them. They overflow. And then when somebody complains to the health department, then he sends a manager around and is intimidating people with very strong language to find out who did that. And anybody that complains, then he calls up and he starts stressing them out with that he's going to sue them. And these are people that are earning maybe $900 to $1,100 a month, senior citizens. And I have several. And what happens is now he's forced a number of them out. They quit because of the land use change. And so then he has said that he's going to bill them for the remainder of the full year for the lot rent, which is around $300, $350 a month. And that's not legal, but he tracks down these people even if they're out of state, and he threatens them. And there have been a couple cases where people who they have, like their sons are taking care of their bills, they pay it. And
Do they have a contract with him?
no, this is not a contract. He doesn't supply them with anything in writing. He doesn't do any of that. And so there's already talked to 2 attorneys about the issue. The guy's right on the borderline of being, a New Jersey type landlord, abusive landlord.
Please.
Okay.
That says it all.
So,
Says it all.
and actually his family is from New Jersey. Okay, but anyway, I just want to mention, there are something like 80 mobile home parks in this county. And most of them, I'm sure, are very well run and do not do those sorts of things, but you should be aware of that. And you also might look at some of the, some of these places, if they're rehabilitated, they could provide a space for some people that don't have homes to move into.
And that's, our scope is somewhat limited as far as the purpose of this committee, but because we deal with affordable housing under the statutory purpose for being here, it gives us an opportunity to kick around ideas and brainstorm, and sometimes we've been able to come up with good ideas that we we have minutes to approve from our special June 8th, 2016 meeting. Do we have a motion for approval?
So moved. Second.
All
Third.
right.
Fourth.
Hold on, let me decide who. All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Right.
All right. Any opposed? Okay, we're good. Moving on to new business. Cheryl?
No new business. I thought we would have a developer, present this, month, but I have not heard from them again.
Oh, okay. So we don't have,
So we don't have a developer here to present this month. They may come back in the next quarter.
what was that going to be on?
On affordable housing units, on the development of some additional affordable housing units, some apartments.
Okay.
Mhm.
Do we know where those were at in particular, or?
No, they're in the site selection, part right now of the process.
Okay. Okay.
How many units?
They're not sure because that is contingent upon site, funding, you know, there's a lot of ifs, so. They're, right now, they're just looking at Lake County to see, what would be, the best region, to build affordable housing in at this time. Whether it would be the southern region or the northern region, or, you know, they're assessing, where it most needs to be built, or whether or not they should build in Lake County.
Thank you.
Do we maintain any data along those lines as far as where our greatest needs are? Is that literally something, I mean, that's up to the private sector to go figure that out?
No, actually, it's not up to the private sector. The Schimberg Center, and that's the University of Florida, they actually comprise all of that data. So Florida Housing Finance Corporation utilizes that data, and then they further drill down to identify where the greatest needs lie with the population that's in the greatest need.
Okay, so when they evaluate their applications at the state level, those are the kind of things that they're looking at that data that's been compiled by the University of Florida.
Right, and when they create policy, every year, if you'll notice, the Florida Housing Finance Corporation has a target population that they'll emphasize. So not just low to mod housing, but they emphasize persons with disabilities, saying that you have to spend X amount of money on these people. And then they started, initially it started out that they had to just fulfill the Florida statute definition of what that person was, and then they broadened it to veterans, to homeless people, to this, you know. And so each year they will target a population and say, this population right here is in the greatest need, and this is where we're going to mandate a portion of your money to be spent. So on top of all of the other percentages that we have to meet, they then add another layer to it.
Okay, so those are the mandates that come down to us in administering the SHIP funds that we get locally.
That's correct.
And then in addition,
But-
that applies to what they're doing at the state with regard to the, like the financing that they
Right.
do.
They also relegate that to developers. So you got developers coming in and they say, well, it used to be developers could come in, they develop housing for people 60% and below MFI, and they're good. Now they're saying, no, you need to set aside some of these units for our target populations.
And we're talking about multifamily.
We're talking about multifamily, that's correct.
What-
And they're also putting out different, smaller RFPs for nonprofits to come in and to do work. So they may say, we want domestic violence victims, for instance. That's a hot topic right now in the target population. And so they may say, we want small developers or nonprofits who can come in and who can develop a property with 10 to 20 units for this population of people. And so that's the mechanism at the state that's being utilized to target that population or to provide funding for that target population.
And because I know AMS is recording this, I think it's really important to say that we're talking about those projects that are built
tax
So
credit.
it's, yeah,
Those
tax
are-
credit,
Those are the tax credit deals.
right.
Those are the ones that are getting the, not necessarily the SHIP funds, but the sale funds. And they all fall under Florida Housing Finance Corporation.
Mhm. For example, the project in Eustis, where,
That is correct.
Have you seen that, Leslie?
yeah, it's like drug land.
Isn't that something, how
Yes.
fast that went up?
Yes,
Mhm.
yeah, and
It's
they're,
mind-boggling.
they're filling their units, and this,
Yeah.
that's an example of where they have a certain set aside, for,
They have to meet that subside.
they have to make that set aside, but the people that rent there have to have proof of employment, they have to be working.
Mhm. They have, when I looked at their pro forma, they have to serve, all of the people have to be less than 60% median family income. And then a certain portion of the families have to be less than 30% median family income. And then they have another subpopulation that meets their target population that we're speaking of. And then there is a rent maximum. So you have to have employment. You can't come in there with zero income. You have to have employment because there's a rent maximum and there's a rent minimum that can be charged on tax credit units. But when we're dealing with our neediest population, people with 30% and below median family income, let's say our people that are on disability or our elderly people that may get, let's say, $1,100 a month, and it is $500 or $525 a month for a one-bedroom, then they would not qualify for that one-bedroom, many of them, if they didn't come in there accompanied with a Section 8 voucher. Because they are not able to meet the minimum qualifications for the rent. So it provides for a sect of people, but as with any program, as creative as we all try to be, there's still gonna be a sect that will not be provided for. And so that's why we have various different programs that serve various different populations and needs.
I called that developer after the last meeting and spoke with them. And because you discussed that they have to work with nonprofits now before instead of after they build. And there are no Lake County nonprofits on the Florida housing list, so they partnered with nonprofits outside of the Lake County area.
They
But
act,
can you get on the list now?
We're working to do that, we're working to
Right.
Florida housing.
because they actually, I think they work with, I believe the name of the organization is Community Cares or
I think it's
community-based
community-based.
community-based care who provide services here in Lake County through Kids Central. So that's how they were able to be eligible for work in this area.
Leslie, what's interesting, I don't know if you have ever heard of Roman Tetra, the attorney down in works for Broad and Cassell, and he has actually created this year he has a website called Real Estate Incentives ID, and what he was doing for he's only got 2 clients that keep him billed the whole year, and a lot of multifamily stuff they do. He said, and it's all over the country, and they almost always involve some incentives, from whatever, whether it's federal or local, state or whatever. And he had made it his own personal specialty to find those incentives, because sometimes they're pretty significant. And he was saying that, you know, in every case, of pretty sizable projects, they always involve these incentives, and the local guys don't know about these incentives. So now, on a fee-based thing, you pay like $30 a month or something. If you have a site that you want to see if there's any incentives that possibly could apply to that site, it's got all the data already accumulated. You just put your site in there and it identifies you. And some of those incentives are that banks, regional or national, whatever, have set-asides that you have to spend a certain amount of money on the kinds of programs that you have.
Right.
And if you hit them at the right cycle, which he also knows the cycles the banks are in and how much money they have to put in any given pot, whether it's a USDA program or something, then you get potential that you hit the bank when you have to do something this quarter, and you have to have so much invested in that kind of project, and you've got that kind of project they need, okay, let's sit down and talk. So your financing gets better.
Yeah, it's a lot of money out there, you know, let's say, Federal Home Loan Bank, they target veterans, right? But you have to get in their funding cycle, you have 9 months that you have to expend the money, and when they say expend the money, that means 9 months to get their money and get somebody in a house. So you gotta get their money, spend it, get a client in a house in 9 months. Now, most of you sitting at this table know that that really is not a lot of time, so you have to do a lot of front-end work, and so really that money is, comes in as leverage type of money to a project that is almost, complete in terms of funding, your funding package. So, yes, there's a lot of money out there, Florida, Home Loan Fund, TD Bank, has money, BB&T has money, Seacoast, Bank has money, Harvard National, has money. Most of those banks that I just listed, I have relationships with the community development officers. I sit on the Florida Community Development Association, and so we do training and conferences at least annually. And I have a working relationship with those banks, and so when we have organizations that want to or need to, let's say Wells Fargo, Steve Smith, one of our very own, got a small grant from Wells Fargo for his transitional housing. And so that was through a relationship that helped to kind of bring together, and it helped to purchase furniture. So sometimes they're not large funding sources, sometimes they're small funding sources, but it all helps.
Sometimes they're huge. I mean, Roman's told me about a deal that gave me the details, but in Florida, a $20 million project got $10 million in tax credits
Yeah, that's,
over a period of time.
yeah, that's tax credits. And then they got Brownsville, like this particular project, they may have, if they had done a phase 2, the one that you're talking about on Huffstetler, they may have qualified for some Brownsville funding as well, which they probably could have got $800,000 or $900,000 for, with Brownsville for assessment and actual cleanup. So it's money out there, but it's kind of like a 1,000-piece puzzle.
Yeah.
Well, this guy's, high-priced attorneys in back rooms, that's what they do, find money for these guys. Because the money's out there, like you said. Like, oh, okay, they pay their way, but.
Well, maybe when Denise starts honing in on a site for her project for Forward Pass, we can connect her with Roman and.
We're working on it.
Well, I've already connected him with several people in this county, so, oh, wow, okay.
Shirley, you talk about Steve Smith here. He's made the newspapers recently. Why
Yes,
is
he
that?
has. Yes, he
He said I
has.
was gonna get his autograph today. but
Well, you know where he's at, he's actually down in Osceola, I believe, fighting
Yeah,
for these
that's Four
people
Corners.
that, in the Four Corners area that live in the motels along there.
Oh,
That's their
yeah.
transitional housing, and Osceola is considering an ordinance that would essentially say that the hotels can't rent anymore for transitional housing. So he's down there fighting for those folks, and
Yeah,
hopefully,
okay.
when we have our next meeting or before, we'll find out more about what's happening with that.
And I think that's sponsored through, I believe the chamber, is
Yeah,
heading
they
that
have
up.
what
Yeah,
is
that's
it?
what Dottie is as well.
Okay, Dottie's there too.
Mhm.
Okay, all right, so what about any old business we need to pick back up?
Any old business, our homeless rehousing program kicked off, Monday, August 1st. And so we're looking forward to getting some people housed. We did all the back end, all the policy and procedure, all the documents and paperwork. Met with the nonprofits. We got Denise here, and she sent over her first client. Her first two.
2 by 2, I think,
Okay, her first two, I believe that was yesterday?
yesterday.
that was yesterday. And so we're moving right along. So just want you to know, we went in, made the ship changes, went to the board, got approved. It's still waiting, up at Florida Housing Finance Corporation, you know, but we make local, changes so that, you know, that part is just, formal. But,
Cheryl,
that's the newest.
this project that, you know, that was supposed to be in Leesburg for veterans, and they canceled it in Leesburg because they found out, obviously, that the impact fees were on the site. So they went to Umatilla and bought this little subdivision here right on 19 that Dr. Radnothy had, you know, laid out. Got 2 houses in here, and then they got room for, I don't know, a dozen more or such, because the impact fees were paid up there. And so they didn't have that problem they had over Leesburg, plus it was all developed, platted, everything was ready to go on it. I think that they didn't come in for looking for any funds here, did they? You got any idea? The Habitat for Humanity deal.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. We had some contact with them. As a matter of fact, Dottie was the point person, on that. We had requested some information. I believe that Dottie is still awaiting to receive some information from Kent. And
Well, I think they got a groundbreaking coming up in September or something like that. They haven't really, you know, done anything official. I think they bought the property because they had the funds, that they didn't use over Leesburg, to buy it. They got a lot of donations and so forth, so, you know,
I'm not
I don't
sure.
think they were really looking for anything more on that. I think
Okay.
they're
They
ready
said
to
they
go
found
on
their-
that.
They found their funding source.
That's what I thought.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah, there was a lot of publicity out there with some functions about the one that was supposed to be in Leesburg, and so they were raising some pretty good money aside.
But there's something to be said there that, I mean, the market worked. They found the right location that, you know, and then it brought attention to the fact that we needed to do something to try to help on the
Yeah, right.
affordable housing side of the impact fees. Not that we've solved it completely, but at least we've come up with a route, you know, in the right circumstances to try to help out. And we're still working on some ideas that I don't really want to, I'd share them, but we're so early in the stages that I really need to get some more feedback from legal staff too, as to whether we can do them. But they might be a way that we partner with the school board to try to help with some of these situations of infill and de minimis, you know, type housing. And
You want me to turn the camera off?
no, it's fine. So we're working on it, but it did bring to light that issue, so I guess that was a
Well,
positive.
a lot of this too, you know, if you deal with 55 plus, you don't have the school impact fee to pay. If you can get it designated, the project is a 55 plus, then you don't have certain costs involved,
Yeah.
right?
We've got all these under 55-year-olds that need
Well,
housing.
of course, you know, that's
That's
only
good.
one piece of the pie, yeah.
Yeah.
Under 24, right?
Okay, all right, well, what about, let's see, our meeting schedule, we've got it listed, everybody, if you'll get those on your calendars, and that'll help us when it comes to meeting our quorum.
November 2nd.
November 2nd will be the next meeting.
So the changes that were on our last meeting come up before the board?
They passed, and then
Oh, they did pass,
Cheryl
okay.
and her group, they got everything into the policy side of it, as far as administering the program, so.
And
that's good.
we created the program and got our first 2 clients just today.
That's pretty exciting, you can actually get something done within almost like a 2-month period of time.
Yeah. Well, Commissioner calls it exciting. That my staff, they have other names for it. Cheryl. Yeah, we gotta do it.